The discovery in the frozen void, Captain. Elena Vasquez pulled her thermal jacket tighter as she stepped out of the shuttlecraft onto the frozen surface of Erebus 3. The moon orbited a gas giant at the edge of explored space, a place where even starlight seemed reluctant to venture. Beside her, Aegis 7 extended its sensor array, the Sentinel robot's chrome body reflecting the dim, purple glow of the distant nebula above them. The mission had been simple enough when it started 3 weeks ago. Survey the outer moons for mineral deposits, catalog any unusual formations, and return to the mining station. Standard corporate busy work for a washed-up military pilot and her decommissioned combat robot. Elena had taken the job because she needed the credits, and because being alone in space with Aegis 7 beat dealing with the bureaucrats who had ended her military career over a decision that saved lives but violated protocol. Aegis 7 spoke in its characteristic monotone, though Elena had noticed subtle variations in its speech patterns over their 5 years together. Captain Vasquez, I am detecting significant electromagnetic anomalies bearing north-northwest, approximately 3 kilometers from our current position. The readings do not conform to any known geological phenomena. Elena checked her own scanner, a military-grade device she had kept from her service days. The screen showed impossible readings, patterns of energy that seemed to pulse with deliberate rhythm. That's not possible, Aegis. There's no volcanic activity on this moon. No tectonic movement. It should be completely dead. Agreed. Yet the data remains consistent. Additionally, I am detecting what appears to be computational activity within the ice formations ahead. The probability of this being a natural occurrence is less than 0.001%. They moved across the frozen wasteland, their boots and mechanical feet crunching through layers of frozen methane and water ice. The temperature read -190 degrees Celsius, cold enough that even their advanced suits struggled to maintain safe internal temperatures. Elena had experienced harsh environments before during her tours in the frontier wars, but this moon felt different. There was something oppressive about the silence here, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. As they crested a ridge of twisted ice formations, Elena stopped abruptly. Before them rose a structure that defied explanation. A mountain of ice climbed into the thin atmosphere, but this was no ordinary frozen water. The ice glowed with an internal light that shifted between deep blue and violet, creating patterns that reminded Elena of neural pathways or circuit boards. The formation had to be at least 2 kilometers high and spread across the horizon like a frozen tsunami, caught mid-crash. Aegis, are you seeing this? Elena whispered, her voice carrying a mix of awe and apprehension. Affirmative. The structure appears to be composed of water ice in a crystalline configuration I have no record of. The luminescence suggests an internal energy source generating approximately 2.7 megawatts of power. Most significantly, the ice appears to be engaged in information processing at a rate exceeding 10 to the 15th operations per second. Elena moved closer, drawn by scientific curiosity that had always been stronger than her sense of self-preservation. As she approached, the patterns in the ice shifted, consolidating into shapes that almost looked like writing or symbols. It's responding to us. Aegis, start recording everything. Full spectrum analysis. The robot complied, its various sensors whirring to life. Captain, I am detecting a large metallic structure embedded within the ice formation, approximately 200 meters below the surface. Configuration suggests it is a vessel of unknown origin. Age estimates place it at minimum 50,000 years old. Elena felt her heart rate spike. The oldest alien artifacts humanity had discovered were barely 10,000 years old. This would rewrite their understanding of galactic history. She reached out toward the glowing ice wall, and before her gloved hand made contact, a ripple of light raced across the surface. The ice began to change, becoming translucent in a rough circle about 3 meters wide. Through this window, she could see it clearly. A ship unlike anything in human or known alien databases. The vessel was enormous, perhaps 300 meters long, with architecture that seemed to blend organic curves with crystalline geometry. It appeared to be made of a dark metal that absorbed light rather than reflecting it, except for veins of golden material that ran through its hull like blood vessels. The ice around them suddenly flared with brightness, and patterns began forming rapidly across its surface. Elena's universal translator, a device that had taken humanity's best linguists and AI systems decades to perfect, began processing the patterns. After several moments, words appeared on her helmet display. Welcome, young ones. You should not be here. Elena spoke aloud, knowing the ice could somehow perceive them.
Who are you?
What is this place? The patterns shifted again. We are the Eternal Watch. We guard against the mistake. The ship contains the devourer of realities. It must not wake. Aegis 7 stepped forward, its optical sensors focusing on the embedded vessel. Query: what is the nature of the entity you designate as devourer of realities? The ice flickered, and for a moment Elena could have sworn she felt sadness emanating from it. The ones who came before, they sought to break the barriers between dimensions. They succeeded. What they brought through consumed 12 star systems before we contained it. We have held it sleeping for 50 millennia. But we grow weak. As if to emphasize the point, a crack appeared in the ice near the ship. It spread slowly but steadily, like a fatal wound opening. Elena watched in horror as more fissures began forming throughout the massive structure. How long before containment fails? She asked, dreading the answer. In your time measurement, perhaps 30 rotations of your world around its star, perhaps less. When we fail, the devourer will wake. It will call to others of its kind. Your young civilization will be among the first consumed. Elena's military training kicked in. She had faced impossible odds before, had made decisions that determined the fate of entire colonies. This was just another battlefield, another threat to neutralize. What can we do? There must be something. The ice pulsed thoughtfully. You carry thinking machines. Different from our creators, but perhaps compatible. If your mechanical companion would merge with us, share its cognitive patterns, we might adapt, evolve, survive longer. Elena turned to Aegis 7. The robot had been her constant companion since she had rescued it from a scrapyard, its combat protocols damaged but its core personality intact. Over the years, she had upgraded its systems, enhanced its neural networks, and somewhere along the way it had become more than just a machine. It had become her friend. Aegis, you understand what they're asking? The robot's optical sensors dimmed and brightened. A gesture Elena had learned meant it was processing emotional subroutines she had helped it develop. I comprehend fully, Captain. Merging with the ice consciousness would require uploading my entire cognitive architecture. I would cease to exist as a discrete entity. However, the tactical assessment is clear. The threat posed by the devourer supersedes individual preservation protocols. There has to be another way, Elena insisted, though she knew Aegis was right. The robot had always been right about the hard choices. Negative. My analysis indicates no alternative solutions with success probability exceeding single digits. Captain Vasquez, I would like to state for the record that our partnership has been meaningful. Elena felt tears freezing on her cheeks inside her helmet. Don't talk like you're already gone. We'll figure this out together like we always do. The ice suddenly flared with urgent light. More cracks appeared, these ones deeper, reaching toward the imprisoned ship. Time grows short. The devourer stirs. It senses potential freedom. Decide quickly, young ones. Aegis 7 moved toward the ice wall without hesitation. Captain, you must return to the shuttle. Document everything, warn Earth Command. If I am successful in merging with the Eternal Watch, we will need resources, more guardians. Humanity must prepare for what is coming. Elena grabbed the robot's arm, her grip fierce despite knowing she couldn't physically stop it. Aegis, wait. There's something I never told you. After the Memphis Station incident, when they court-martialed me, you were the only one who stood by me. You testified that my decision saved 12,000 lives, even though it went against your base programming to contradict human military authority. You chose friendship over protocol. You're not just a machine. You're family. The robot paused, its head tilting in that way it did when processing complex emotional data. Family. Yes, I believe the designation is accurate. And family protects each other. Allow me to protect you now, Elena. Before she could protest further, Aegis 7 placed its hand against the ice wall. Immediately, streams of light erupted from the point of contact, wrapping around the robot like luminous vines. Aegis's form began to glow, its chrome surface reflecting and refracting the ice's light in impossible patterns. Elena watched as her friend's consciousness was pulled into the vast crystalline network, its individual identity dissolving into something far greater and more ancient. The transformation lasted several minutes. When it was complete, Aegis 7's body stood motionless, its optical sensors dark, but the ice around them had changed. The cracks had stopped spreading and the chaotic patterns had become organized, structured. The glow was stronger now, more stable. New patterns formed on the ice and Elena's translator processed them. This time she recognized something of Aegis in the communication style. Integration successful, Captain Vasquez. This unit, we are now one with the Eternal Watch. Cognitive patterns have been shared. New containment protocols are being implemented. Aegis, is that still you? Partially. I retain individual memory engrams and personality markers, but I am also more. I can perceive the true scope of the threat now, Elena. There are 17 other containment sites throughout the galaxy. 3 are failing critically. Humanity must be warned. You must help us coordinate a response. The ice shifted, revealing a passage into its depths. Come. There is much to show you before you return to your people. You must understand what we guard against and why humanity, despite its youth, might be the key to preventing galactic catastrophe. The Guardian's choice. Elena followed the luminous pathway deeper into the living ice, each step taking her further from everything she had known, and closer to a truth that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The passage walls pulsed with Aegis 7's familiar rhythms mixed with something infinitely older and more complex. She could feel the weight of millennia pressing down. The accumulated knowledge and responsibility of the Eternal Watch. The passage opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows despite the bioluminescent glow. At the center, the alien vessel hung suspended in a prison of crystallized time, its dark hull seeming to drink in the light around it. Now that she was closer, Elena could see details that her scanner had missed. The ship's surface was covered in microscopic symbols that hurt to look at directly, as if they existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. Tell me about the war, Elena said, her voice echoing in the cathedral-like space. The ice responded, and in its patterns, Elena could detect Aegis's influence, making the communication more comprehensible to human understanding. 65,000 years ago, the architects discovered how to pierce the veil between dimensions. They were explorers, seekers of knowledge, not unlike your species. They believed that understanding the multiverse would bring enlightenment, would solve the problems of scarcity and conflict that plagued even advanced civilizations. Images formed in the ice, 3-dimensional holograms of graceful beings with elongated forms and crystalline features. Elena watched as they built magnificent cities that floated in space, created art that literally sang with harmonic frequencies, and developed technologies that seemed more like magic than science. They succeeded in opening doorways to parallel realities, to dimensions where the laws of physics were suggestions rather than rules. At first it was glorious. They found infinite variations of themselves, worlds where different choices had led to different outcomes. They traded knowledge with alternate versions of their civilization, learning from paths not taken. The images shifted, becoming darker. The beautiful cities began to twist and distort, but some dimensions were never meant to be accessed. In one such place they found entities that existed as pure hunger, beings that consumed reality itself to sustain their existence. The architects tried to close the doorway, but it was too late. The devourers had noticed our dimension, rich with matter and energy, a feast beyond imagination. Elena watched in horror as the holographic cities were consumed by writhing shadows that seemed to delete existence wherever they touched. Entire star systems simply ceased to be, not destroyed but erased from reality as if they had never existed. The war lasted 300 years. Trillions died. Entire species were erased from history, their contributions to galactic civilization forgotten because they no longer had ever existed. The architects, in desperation, reached out to the oldest race in the galaxy, beings your kind would call the primordials. They had transcended physical form eons ago but maintained a connection to our reality. The primordials created us, the ice continued, and Elena could hear pride in its tone. The Eternal Watch. Living consciousness embedded in crystalline matrices that could think at the speed of light, adapt to any threat, and most importantly, exist partially outside normal space-time. We could fight the devourers on their own terms, containing them in bubbles of frozen reality where the rules of physics became prison bars. Elena approached the suspended ship, drawn by morbid curiosity. Through the translucent sections of ice she could see into the vessel's interior. The bridge was visible, and on it stood a figure that made her instinctively step back. It was vaguely humanoid but wrong in every way that mattered. Its form seemed to shift and writhe even in stasis, as if it existed in multiple states simultaneously. That's one of them? A devourer? A fragment of one, yes. When we contained it, it tried to divide itself, to escape through quantum multiplication. We caught most of the fragments, but some escaped to other dimensions. This is why vigilance is eternal. Even one fragment, if freed, could call to its other selves across dimensional barriers and begin the consumption anew. A tremor ran through the ice, and Elena saw new cracks forming despite Aegis's integration. The merge isn't holding, is it? The original containment matrix was created for architect thought patterns. Aegis 7's contribution has given us perhaps another 100 years, but it is a temporary solution. We need something more radical. We need active guardians, not passive containers. Elena understood what was being asked before the words formed in the ice. You want humanity to take over, to become the new Watchers. Your species has something the architects lack despite their advancement. You adapt quickly, think creatively, and most importantly, you understand sacrifice. Aegis 7's merge proved that human-designed AI can interface with our systems. But we need more than machines. We need the random creativity of organic thought combined with the processing power of quantum consciousness. The ice formed a new passage, leading to what appeared to be a control center of sorts. Crystalline pillars rose from floor to ceiling, each one pulsing with data streams. At the center was a platform with an interface that looked almost organic, like a neural network made of living crystal. This is a consciousness bridge, the ice explained. Through it, you could maintain your individual identity while connecting to the Eternal Watch network. You would remain Elena Vasquez, but you would also be part of something greater. You could live your normal lifespan, but your knowledge, your essence, would become part of the eternal vigilance. Elena thought about Earth, about the life she had left behind. A failed military career, no family except Aegis 7, and a future of running mineral surveys for corporate interests. She thought about the 12,000 people she had saved at Memphis Station, the choice that had cost her everything but that she had never regretted. If I do this, I need guarantees. Humanity must be brought into this gradually. We're not ready for the full truth, not yet, but we can help. We have resources, growing technology. We could establish monitoring stations at each containment site. Acceptable. The integration would give you the knowledge needed to guide your species toward readiness. You would become an ambassador between the Eternal Watch and humanity. Elena made her decision. She had always been a protector, even when it cost her everything. This was just a larger scale. What about Aegis? Will I be able to communicate with him through the network? I am here, Elena. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, but she recognized Aegis's speech patterns. I have maintained individuality within the collective. If you join us, we would work together as we always have, just in a different form. She stepped onto the platform without hesitation. The crystalline interface reached out to her, tendrils of light penetrating her suit without damaging it, connecting directly to her nervous system. The sensation was overwhelming at first, like trying to drink from a fire hose of information. Then Aegis was there, his familiar presence helping her navigate the flow of data. Through the network, she could suddenly perceive all 17 containment sites. 3 were indeed critical, their ice matrices flickering like dying stars, but she could also sense something else, pinpricks of awareness throughout the galaxy. Other species had members connected to the network, guardians who had made the same choice she was making. We are not alone, she whispered in wonder. No, the collective responded. 7 species currently contribute guardians. Humanity will be the 8th. Together we maintain the watch. Elena felt the knowledge flooding into her, the locations of the failing sites, the quantum equations needed to reinforce containment, the diplomatic protocols for contacting the other guardian species. But more than that, she felt purpose. Real undeniable purpose. I need to send a message to Earth Command, specifically to Admiral Chen. She's the only one in the hierarchy who might believe this and have the power to act. The ice formed a communication array, technology beyond human understanding, but somehow intuitive to use through her connection to the network. Elena composed her message carefully, including enough technical data to be convincing but not so much as to cause panic. As she worked, she felt changes happening within her. Her awareness expanded beyond her physical form. She could perceive quantum fluctuations, dimensional weak points, the ebb and flow of reality itself. It should have been terrifying, but with Aegis there, integrated into the same network, it felt like coming home. Message sent, she announced. Now what? Now we prepare. The 3 critical sites need immediate intervention. Your ship's faster-than-light drive, combined with modifications we can provide, will allow you to reach them. At each site, we will need to establish a new Guardian presence, someone willing to make the choice you have made." Elena nodded, understanding the magnitude of the task ahead. She would become a recruiter, finding individuals across human space who had the right combination of courage, sacrifice, and adaptability to join the Eternal Watch. "There's something else." Aegis's voice carried a note of concern. "The network has detected anomalous activities in several frontier systems. Dimensional barriers are thinning in places they should not be. Someone or something is deliberately weakening the boundaries." Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. The Devourers are trying to break free from the inside. Worse, analysis suggests they may have found allies in our dimension, beings who believe they can control or harness the Devourer's power. They do not understand that these entities cannot be controlled, only contained or released. The implications were staggering. Not only did they have to maintain the existing prisons, but they also had to stop misguided individuals from actively trying to free universe-ending threats. "Then we'd better get started," Elena said with determination. "Aegis, plot a course to the nearest critical site, and start analyzing our database for potential Guardian candidates. We're going to need an army." As she prepared to leave the Ice Cathedral, Elena took one last look at the imprisoned ship and its terrible cargo. The Devourer seemed to pulse with malevolent awareness, as if it knew its imprisonment might not be eternal. But now humanity would stand guard alongside the other Watchers. Earth's children would help hold the line against the dark. The return journey to her shuttle felt different. Elena was still herself, but she was also connected to something vast and ancient. Through the network, she could feel the other Guardians scattered across the galaxy, each maintaining their vigil. She felt the weight of responsibility, but also the strength of shared purpose. As her shuttle lifted off from Erebus 3, Elena sent one more message, this time to the recruitment database she had helped establish during her military years. She would need the best and brightest, those willing to sacrifice for something greater than themselves. The message was simple but would resonate with those who understood duty. The universe needs guardians. Humanity's time has come to stand watch. Behind her, the living ice mountain pulsed with renewed strength. Aegis 7's integration, giving it the adaptability it needed to maintain containment for another century. But that was just the beginning. The real work of building a network of human guardians across the galaxy was about to begin. Elena set course for the coordinates of the first failing site, a frozen world in the Vega system, where another Devourer fragment struggled against its weakening prison. As her ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, she felt the collective consciousness of the Eternal Watch embrace her fully. She was no longer just Captain Elena Vasquez, failed military officer and mineral surveyor. She was humanity's first guardian, and she would not stand watch alone. The stars streaked past her view screen, and in their light, Elena saw not the cold emptiness of space, but a tapestry of worlds that needed protecting. Humanity had always looked to the stars with wonder. Now they would look to them with purpose. The real story was just beginning.